Worst Things First podcast is where ordinary people have the type of conversations that reveal the extraordinary in all of us. Every walk of life has a downside. Now let's start at the bottom. And once again, welcome to WTFP, Worst Things First podcast. Today's guest, DERSK One.
What up?
LA graffiti writer, my man.
What's up, man? This is crazy.
Man, you just what you got here yesterday on the train, right?
Yeah, I took the train out here, Amtrak, and took it from LA to Fort Madison, and then I rented a car and drove up and stopped in the Amana Colonies.
You did that
at a brewery, and then had a couple of beers, and then drove the rest of the way to Des Moines on the 80, where everybody actually goes over 80.
Word up.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy on that stretch of road.
It worked for you then, huh?
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up, dude. You never changed, man. I first met you, I think, maybe 5 years ago. You still look like a construction worker.
Oh, shit.
I remember you rolled up out of the blue. I was in New Mexico.
Yeah, we're in Las Cruces. Yeah,
Las Cruces.
For some illegal jam or whatever.
It was a jam called Illegal. Shout out to Saba, TNR crew.
Saba.
Yep. And we were down there 2000, might have been 14, if not 13. So. And I remember painting, dude. I was like 2 or 3 hours in, you know, and I already felt like the entire state of Iowa was on my back, just because shit. Like heads was like, oh, like, you know, what kind of writers is in Iowa? You know what I'm saying? You know, asking.
I was even like, what kind of writers are out here in this town? Like my buddy Hydra was like, yo, we're gonna go do this thing in Las Cruces, and we got paint, and it's gonna be like some battle, and I was like, all right. And we took like Los Limousines, like the chicken bus out there, and I was like, what? Like, what's up, dude? It was crazy. And then we got out there, and it was like trippy because like there was like a brewery out there, and then like there were like people from like Albuquerque. Like I met Rock, big up to Rock, and like I met you because you were from out in Iowa, and then it was
King was out there.
King was out there. And it was like all these other cats, like, and it was just like, what the fuck is going down, dude? Like, this is crazy. And then from there, we met, and then you invited me out to a jam.
So check it out though. This is the thing though. This is how you came into like me knowing you or getting an impression of you, is because I'm painting, like I said, I'm already feeling like and you feel like that anyway, anytime you're from Iowa, because, you know, people always confuse you with potato states. They're fucking your name up and all types of other shit. So you already, anytime you go anywhere, you already kind of got to rep a little heavy. And so that's going down. And then motherfuckers start pulling out lawn chairs and sitting behind me, pulling out OE40s and drinking 40s with lawn chairs right behind me. And I'm like, so now I'm literally starting to get nervous. No one knew this, but I walked inside and gave myself a pep talk. You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, I didn't come down here to fucking impress these motherfuckers. I'm here to have fun. You know what I'm saying? I had to like talk to myself. You know what I'm saying? And it was dope. It was dope, and I enjoyed it. And I remember being like, dog, I was like 2 or 3 hours in to just like, you know, rocking, feeling and shit. You and Hydra came up. Y'all was like, man, where's spots? Y'all looked around like, ain't no spots. Left, right, boom. You looked up. As soon as you looked up, you saw the spot on the roof.
Yeah.
So this is a spot, ladies and gentlemen, for our listeners, where you have to crouch down, and the spot is maybe 3.5 feet tall, but maybe you had 15 feet in length? Would you say?
Yeah, it was probably about. I think we each had like 15 feet. Yeah. It was like it was a large kind of like the top of like a balcony type thing.
And
like
DERSK ain't no spring chicken. You was bus hopping in the 80s, wasn't you?
Yeah, that's how I started. I started tagging like late. Probably late 87, like early 88.
Okay.
Back when like it's called the Metro now, but it used to be called the RTD, and like they were probably. This is like in LA. This is like everywhere in LA. There's probably like I'm gonna say like 100,000 like people like tagging on buses like back then, and it was just like it was crazy because like the buses were like. Are like subways. So you would like there was like a bus that came up into my neighborhood in Panorama City that would go all the way through like North Hollywood, through Hollywood, all the way to downtown. So you could tag on it up where we were, and then you could send your name like down there, and then like vice versa. So like we would be chilling up at like the Panorama Mall, which was like a bench back then, and the buses from LA would come through to go lay over like 2 blocks from my house. But then like you would see like dudes from LA and you'd be like, oh shit, like, or you see your piece that you see your tag that you did, like, you know, you were like, oh damn, there goes my tag. Like, yeah. It was dope. So, and there were a couple lines that went through that area. So there was like the 420, which went downtown. There was a 560 that went from like Pacoima to Westwood, and there was like the 234 that went from San Fernando all the way to like Sherman Oaks, and then you would catch a 424 to downtown, and it was just like there was like riders like everywhere. It was crazy.
Who would you say at that time, and I do mean at that time, who would you say were the riders that you were like you kept seeing the name and getting inspired by and getting hyped up by when you saw that? I
mean, I got around like my neighborhood, there was this dude riding Reno and this dude riding Tack, and there was a dude riding Solo, and Solo was this guy that lived across the street, and he kind of like introduced me to this dude named Renz down on the other block, and that was like my mentor. And then I met this other guy named Ant, and he was my mentor, and he lived like on the other side of like the next like major street. And then we linked up with this other dude named Kaiser, but he was riding Suds after that, and he kind of gave me like the name DERSK. But like those are the guys that like I saw around my neighborhood. And then even on like the buses, like I mean back then there was like, I mean everybody, I mean you could like be like, you know, Triax, or like all the UTI dudes, or all like the TCA guys. Or the TNT dudes from like LA, or the old like OFA guys, or OTR, or those guys were like on the buses, or MBT and NTS. Mm-hmm. Those guys were on the buses like crazy. Like it was nuts. Yeah. Like, and it was cool because you could get on the bus and there'd be like 10 other taggers on there. You'd be like, let me get a streak, or let me get a pilot. Like fools would be like hitting like rooftops, that's like, and not caring about it. Like buses used to be like destroyed back then. Yeah. Like I wish we would have documented it more, but because you know it was just like people don't really understand. Like when you talk about like a bus being crushed, like you're like, what does that mean? I mean, like from front to back tags.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no
to
white
see that you're like, what are these people doing? And like you have like 30 dudes on there like just going off. Like it was crazy, and we were all like 15, 16. We're all like, you know, yeah, rambunctious.
Yeah. So I'm gonna come back to that because I want to start talking about when you went from just like smashing with hands and shit on the buses and the lines to packing color into your shit. So let's go back to Las Cruces real quick.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, so I went inside, I gave myself with this little pep talk and shit. Like, fuck these out of town niggas, you know what I'm saying? They talk like they try to talk all this shit, you know, they try to talk that Iowa shit. Boom, I'm coming to rock for me. And, you know, I relaxed and I went and did my thing and all that. But I remember I was like 3 hours into like fucking around with like initial sketch and Phil. Uh-huh. You and Hydra rolled up. And I remember it looked like you had on the Dickie steel-toe boots that I used to have on when I was in high school because I couldn't afford Tim's. Everybody else could afford Tim's, and the next tier down of motherfuckers in socioeconomic status had lugs. I couldn't get either one of them. So I had Dickies, $29.99 from Burlington, steel-toe boots. But when you first got them, they kind of look like Tim's.
I don't know what I was wearing that day. It was probably like Caterpillar boots.
DERSK One.
I just got back.
Triple OG DERSK One. I'm telling you what you were wearing. You had a Carhartt jacket on.
Okay.
In the arid.
I remember a Carhartt jacket.
High desert Las Cruces climate. You had a Carhartt jacket on. You had what looked like a construction shirt. Okay. You definitely had a construction facial expression on at the time. Right. You had on what appeared to be steel-toe boots. I was like, this man came to work. And I just remember you looking left and right. Y'all looked up, and then you were like, well, why don't we go up there? Boom. 3 hours in. Now remember, I'm 2 hours into my piece, right? 3 hours later, y'all, you're done. And when I say you smashed out, what I didn't know, and I don't think you knew this at the time, because remember we later on at the performance thing later, you and I both realized this was a battle.
Oh yeah.
And they were showing it up on the overhead projector, and they showing boats and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, I'm in there. I'm in this shit. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't know it was like a battle.
Yeah.
It was like,
and you took that shit, and rightfully so. But my point is, and what I remember noticing at that time, and what I walked away from was, don't fuck around. When you come to the spot, come to rock. And I appreciated the fact that you showed up looking like a construction worker, because I was like, this motherfucker is here to work. He is only here to work. And that was the first time ever that Iron Lack did this thing on me. This is why I don't really fuck with Iron Lack, to be honest with you. Iron Lack did this thing on me. Remember this, where the bottom of the can started to bubble out? And the can no longer would work. It was almost like the pressure built up inside the can. And so the bottom started to bow out to where you couldn't even set this can upright because it would topple over. And I remember that shit was happening, and you yelled down from the roof, this motherfucker's almost done with his piece, by the way. You know what I'm saying? I'm halfway through. I started 2 hours earlier. This motherfucker yells down from the roof. He was like, what's wrong with the can? We don't know each other. The only bit we know is that he picked up a book of mine, looked through it, and the words out of his mouth were, what kind of writers up in Iowa? That was it, right? That's all we said to each other. Besides me telling him a thing or two about that. He yells down, what's wrong with the can? I tell him, dude, the can's fucked up, it won't work. This motherfucker said, well, don't use it. It sounds like the most simple thing ever, but it was almost also like the greatest revelation as well. He was like, well, don't fucking use it. And what I took from that is, why am I sitting here contemplating it, talking about it? Because honestly, that's a philosophy that outside of that setting I practice in life. You know, if there's something I can't control, why am I sitting here talking about it? You know what I mean? Like making a big fuss about it, making sure other people are aware of it. Move on and find a new resolution. So I appreciated those two things, you know. And so as a matter of fact, as a result of that, DERSK, I want you to know that to this day, I don't spend too much time tearing on something that I can't control. And I also bought another pair of steel-toe boots and a Carhartt jacket.
That's what's up. I think I still have that jacket. The boots are kind of like, they're retired. Those are like relics.
So, hey, man, so let me ask you, though, at what point did you get to not just smashing out on the buses, but really getting loose into pieces? And particularly, I want to talk about because I know some writers in particular where they love to paint fast. Is that a thing of yours?
The funny thing is, I didn't really start piecing until like 97, because from like 90 to like 97, I was back and forth to upstate New York, just like going to high school and like living and shit like that. And I wasn't really drawing.
What years in high school?
Probably like 90, 91, 92.
What state did you
lose
your virginity in?
Probably like upstate New York, I'm gonna say.
Okay. Are you proud of the way in which it
unfolded?
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
I wasn't particularly proud of the way in which mine unfolded.
But I was out there, and then I got back in 97, and I started like I got linked up with a crew called DCT, and so like I started like finally like first started like piecing, and then probably in about 2002, when I moved up to San Francisco to go to college, I met the local crew out there called ICP, and then I met my like writing partner Zell at this mall, and I was looking at this like graffiti book, and he was like, "Oh, graffiti, huh?" And so I was like, yeah. And then so we like linked up, and then we became like writing partners for like 6 years. And it became like a religion for me and for him. And we would go out like every weekend, like every Sunday, 6 a.m. We'd be like in the spot, like busting and being like, you know, smashing it out and being done by like 11. Yeah. And like doing like, we did all illegals, and like doing illegals out there, just kind of like we had to be, in my mind, we had to be in and out, and we were kind of like Zen kind of like moments, like when we got to the wall, like we would like look at it, we would like, you know, do our thing, buff it out, sketch. We wouldn't really talk. We would just be like painting and painting and painting. We'd take a break and smoke and be like, oh, like that looks dope. And then we just like finish up and we'd be like out by like, 5 hours, and it was just like in and out. And then sometimes even like before that. But that's where like I cut my teeth in painting, like doing illegals. And so it was like, that's like, I still paint like it's illegal. Like I'm still like, I've become like efficient in how I fill in and how I sketch and how I, just like I draw, like I sketch all the time. So it's just like every time I go to the wall, like I have a sketch in mind, or I'm like, I'm going to do it like this way. And, however it like starts to turn out is how it turns out.
Yeah.
But up there, like, so 2002 from like 2002 on is when I really, really, really started painting and developing like more of like my style, and like really like looking at other like writer stuff and be like, I'm going to incorporate that into my shit. And, it's just like, that's when I really like got into it. Even though I was going to school for writing, I was doing more graffiti than,
Writing what, like communication?
Like creative writing. That's where I got my.
That's why
I have like degrees in that. So it was like during school I would like just work on that, and then in the summertime it was like graph. Like, let's go paint.
Got you.
And then as I progressed, when classes start to like loosen up, then it was like we painted more, and it was like that's where I really like became me, I guess, in terms of graffiti. It's like a playground out there. It's cool. I like San Francisco. It's like
San Francisco style is way different. It's way different. I've never actually rocked out all the places I've rocked. I never rocked out there. I certainly understand that zen.
It's a trip because like you don't even have to have like a name. Like you could have like a symbol, and you could like get up. I mean, there's like a guy like planting trees. He does like trees. Yeah. And there's a guy like named Ribbity. He did like frogs. And there was like a chick named Reminisce, and she did horses. And it was just I
remember that.
It was like, I was like, yo, this is like the only place you could like get away with that. Like, I was like, this is San Francisco. Like you get up with like, if you're up, you're up. Yeah. Like if you're up with like just a question mark, but if you do it everywhere, like you're up. Yeah, then it's like, you're that guy.
I understand.
But no one will know who you are because everybody's like,
do they ever?
No.
Even with your,
no.
maybe
people like to be clandestine still.
Maybe even particularly with social media, do they ever know who you actually are?
No, I don't think anybody really does. It's like personal shit.
Speaking of which, I had no idea who the fuck we were dealing with, and then I'm lounging at home, and we don't even watch the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But for whatever reason, we happen to have that show on one day, playing, streaming through the laptop. I'm giving it a try, and this cat gets cuffed up in this episode. Can't be certain, but I think it's episode 21 or 22.
It's 21 of season 1. Okay. I was playing like a thug. It was like some background stuff. It was like my first gig back, and first we were just like kind of like hanging out in a jail cell, and then it was like the assistant director was like, hey, the director wants to see a couple of you guys, like he's gonna pick somebody for this thing, and he was like, you're just gonna go out there and just like chill, and he's just gonna look at you and figure out who's gonna be picked. And I went out there, and I basically had on like my regular clothes. I had like kind of like a green, like a drab green like trench coat kind of thing, and some jeans, and my like high top like hiking boots. And we went out, and I was like looking up in the air. I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, whatever. I'm not going to look at anybody, because it was like, you don't want to look at like the director, be like, hey, what's that?
Right.
So I was just like, I don't care. And then they were like, all right. And then we went back to the thing. And then the assistant director came back. He was like, hey, man. He was like, they picked you. He was like, I think the director picked you because it looked like you didn't care. I'm like, yeah, like I don't care if you like pick me or not. So then I was like handcuffed to like Andy Samberg, and we like had to do this thing where, you know, he was like, hey, which guy with, you know, 3 thumbs like just solved like some case, and it was like I was like handcuffed to him, and like he was like, yeah, do it like this, and so we did that, and it was like the commercial went out. It was like, then people were like, hey, you're on TV. I'm like, dude, like, stop calling me about this. Like, it's like, whatever. I don't care. Like, it's just like an LA thing. It's like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna try to be an actor or whatever. And then you're like, all right, maybe like this like sucks. Cause
so
like,
you ain't serious about this, DERSK?
well, I mean, like if you're trying to get like, you know, big, like it seems like you have to like, you know, you have to like really like grind it out, and it's just like I'm trying to do some other stuff, so it's just like if it happened. Like I'm not trying to do all that. I'm going back to school for like some other stuff, like to be a crime scene technician.
Would you say you only have like a cursory level of involvement with the whole?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a member of like SAG, and I pay my dues, but I don't really pursue it as much as probably like a lot of other people in Los Angeles do. So it's like it's there, and if somebody is like, "Yo, like you want to do this thing," then I'll be like, "Yo, like I'll do it." Like, I mean, I was like Ubering, I was like driving, and I was like, I drove this chick to like Malibu, and her actor like canceled at the last minute, and she was like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Director?
Yeah, she was like a production thing, like on a Chinese student film or whatever. And it was like, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It got paid, and you know, just stuff like that. I'm not gonna be like, I need an agent. But,
right.
So,
right. Hey, real quick, because you now have the perfect opportunity, and maybe you can break this down for me. What is a director? What are the duties of a director? What is a producer? The duties of a producer, and so forth and so forth. When I see these titles on screen, I'm trying to figure out who was the one that brought the magic to us.
So, like the producer is like the one who's like dealing with like the money, like they're trying to do the money. The director is like the director, like he's gonna direct, like, you know,
it's his vision.
It's his vision, yeah. You know,
so
it's
the
like
aesthetic to it. So when
it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like it's kind of like when you have like, you know, a group of people. It's like, yo, who's gonna be like the guy that's gonna be like, yo, we're gonna do this, and everybody's gonna have to be like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it the way you want to do it, and we're gonna do it when you tell us to do it. So that's the director.
So in this, for the sake of our audience, you would say then that on set, the director, what he or she says goes. An executive producer, perhaps in the background, they may make changes that change the direction things go.
I mean, they're producing or whatever, and they, you know, they're kind of like I think they're like the guy, you know, they're making it happen. They're making it happen.
They're facilitating the
they're
fact
making all these things happen.
Take place. Okay.
Yeah, they're the ones who like said, okay, we're gonna pick this director.
Got you
to do it. So But they're the ones like, yeah, we're gonna need to hurry this up because it's costing us money.
So when we see a certain vibe and a feel to a film, or some sort of short piece, it is due to the director's aesthetic, their vision.
Yeah, but there's also a gang of other people involved. There's like the writer, and there's like the producer, and there's like the executive producer, and there's like the assistant director, and then there's like the third assistant director, and key grip, and there's like, you know,
what is key grip exactly for the ladies?
I think it's got
we've gotten 1,000 emails so far about this topic alone.
Oh, I don't really know, but I think it's like, it's got to be like, it's like the guy who puts like, you know, the weight, like, you know, they bring out a thing for the lighting, and he's like, they're like the taper, or they put like the weights on something. I don't know. I'm not
okay.
I can't really.
So Brooklyn Nine-Nine was your first time on a set, then? That was what I'm taking.
Yeah, it was like my first.
Did you say you were back? Your first thing back?
Yeah, because I did one before, but it was like whatever. But this one was like, I'm gonna do it, and I did it.
Would you say that's your most high profile joint?
That one, yeah, probably that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one, because you can see my face. Like the other ones is just like, you can't even really see me. It's just like, I was like, that's my back, or you know, it's like, I was there. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like they cut me out, but that was like my little like 2 minutes of fame in terms of like that kind of stuff. But
you painted all over the place. You painted in Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was trippy. It was cool. Taiwan was a trip in terms of like spray paint, because like they have their own spray paint out there, and it's like $1.25.
Give us the name of that.
It's called PP spray. And if you put like a New York fat cap on it, I mean, like it works. Like it's like an old school tester tip, and so like you can get like really good lines, and like some of the paint, like most of the paint is like really good. But like the thing is, like you can't go to like really. It's not like a really like store that you go to. It's like we had to go to this lady's house. And like you roll up and you like knock on the door and she, opens up the door and it's like you could like there's somebody in the background watching TV, and she has like her front like room is like all like shelving with like all this spray paint, and you write down, you tell her like the number and give her your order and she'll get them for you, and then it's like $1.25 American, and then you're like good to go. And then they have these walls out there along the river that they paint, a couple of, here and there, they paint white, and then in the top it says graffiti area in Mandarin. So it's like, that's where you can paint, and it's like super huge. And you can also just like kind of like back then, I mean, you could paint on the street. Like it was like cool. Like you could just paint out there, but it was a experience. The locals are really tight. They're good. That was like my first country going to, and I was like, is there going to be graffiti writers out here? Like, are there going to be people who are dope? And like, there were people that were dope, like Bobo and Same and like Bounce, and like all those dudes and like Check.
How are they feeling? How did they receive? How was your style received out there?
It was cool because like we were from like I was from like because I was like from like United States, and they were like, oh yeah, cool. Like, but there were people out there who painted, like I mean there was like Bobo and Same were kind of like tied into. Like Same became, I think he was like Seventh Letter or something like that. But they had like American style, I would say.
Okay.
Like their burners would go good, like on a train or on a wall out here, like they ripped.
Yeah.
But it was like it was really dope. Like that entire country was fresh. Like you could just.
You got to the mainland at all?
Nah, no, I didn't.
Word. Yeah, I'd like to
not
hear
yet. Not yet.
Like to hear what your thoughts are on the differences between the two.
I haven't been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Where else, man? What other spots would you say is?
That's the only country I've been to.
What's the grimiest spot that like you got out of there within a hair of your life?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say it was Rochester, New York, with my boy Spain, up in some Rochester train yard, and. I think it was like a couple other of us. It was like midwinter and it was snowing, and we were in the yard, and we were like, doing pieces on trains, just like, some 2-color things that we're smoking, a blunt or whatever. And it was like the bull, we saw some lights, so we're like, we gotta dip out. And like the yard is like mad active. It's like there's trains going through there like all the time, and there's lines in there. So we were up in there, and then we dipped out, and we were dipping out, and I hopped over like the turnbuckle thing on the train, and I went to go reach for the ladder, and like I missed it, and I fell like on my knees, like, and it was like I was like, oh man, it was like 4 feet fall, and I was just like, we're like, oh shit, dude. I was like, let's get out of here. So we had to like get up and dip. Like that was pretty trippy. Like that was crazy.
You just mentioned that. I'm not trying to put a downer on them, but you just made me think of the homeboy Mosh, who he was gonna actually be painting at this event.
Yeah. A lot of people are doing some stuff for him.
He just passed away. He got killed trying to hop a train a few weeks back.
That's what I heard.
So rock in peace to Mosh. So that was Rochester, huh?
Yeah, that was up in Rochester. Like I actually like that's where like I cut my like train teeth at. Like we went out like every weekend. It was like when I got back from Taiwan, it was like, let's go. And like, let's go do like, a piece. Like it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that was like pretty cool. I have no idea where those freights are. And like, those probably like.
You notice, I think me and you talked about this before, how heads out east to do like small pieces.
Yeah.
And like out west, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like way longer.
We do a little bit bigger. Yeah.
Like here in Iowa, I'd say we like a good 20 feet. We like a good 20 feet.
Yeah,
to
I think
stretch
a good. I think like 15,
4 or 5
like
letters, 20
15
feet.
to 15 to 20 feet's like a good size.
We need that. 20.
But I mean, I've seen people crush it on like, you know, like 9 feet.
Yeah, if you got
like,
to.
you know, be like, I'm gonna do a 9 brick burner. Like, all right, like I've seen it happen. I've had to do it. It's kind of hard, but when you can do it, like you can do it.
No. Yeah, it can be done. You know what I'm saying? But I know it's the difference between all those. Can you talk about your day job?
Well, right now I am an Uber driver because I'm going back to school to be a crime scene technician.
Man.
But so right now, yeah, I drive people around in Los Angeles.
To what degree would you?
What was that?
To what?
Yo, who's spilling stuff, man? That's crazy. Sound guy. He's here. There's another person amongst us.
Give it up for producer Mike, ladies and gentlemen.
Producer Mike.
Man, you fucked me up.
Sorry. Oh yeah. So like I'm driving right now.
Yeah.
I drive. I like driving. I really love to drive. It's a crazy thing. I don't work for Uber, but you know we work in conjunction with each other. Just to clarify that, all you guys out there complaining about not getting paid all crazy, well, you know what? You got to put in work.
Hey, so what is your philosophy on when a rider gets in your car, deciding when and how much to speak?
I usually like drop like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, how are you? And I'm like, oh, I work in the morning. So I'm like, yo, are you going to work? And they're like, yeah. And then I could kind of like judge if they're kind of like they're talkative or if they're like, you know, if I could tell like when someone's like, I don't really want to talk to you right now. And especially if it's like mad early, I'm like, I know you don't want to talk to me. You're trying to get to the airport.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you're trying to get to work. So I'm be like, or you got a hangover and, you know.
When's the last time you had a rider who was trying to talk to you and you weren't trying to hear that shit?
No, I like talking to everybody because sometimes you hear like, you know, some people like confess like gang of stuff, dude. I've had people confess hella stuff, dude. Like I've had this one guy confess. He was like, you know, I'm cheating on my wife. And I was like, he's like, does that make me a bad person? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, what's your moral code? I mean, like, that's like on you. He was like, oh, I'm glad you like listened to me. Like I never like told anybody that and I feel better. I'm like, that's what I'm here for.
That's what's up. You could have kept that man off the bridge, man.
Yeah, there was like this there was like this lawyer chick and she was like, yo, I used to do cocaine. I was just like, I don't need to know that, but you know, like I'm like, she's like, I don't think I should be telling you this. I'm like, you're never gonna see me again. And it's probably you probably need to get it off your chest. Like that's probably why you're telling me that.
But I am going to be on the podcast in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
I'm tell all that shit.
I'm not name dropping, but like y'all know who you are out there. Like,
oh my goodness,
crazy. But no, yeah, that's what I do. And then I'm going back to school right now. I'm almost done.
You're almost done?
Yeah,
wow.
I went to school for writing. I got like I got 3 degrees. I have my BA, my MA, and my MFA. And then I decided to go into like the field of forensics. So I'm getting certified to be a crime scene technician. And
is there something in particular like blood spatter is its own thing?
I mean, yeah, that's like its own thing. If you work in like if you work in a big agency, you might have to be like specialized in one kind of like one thing. But I think I want to like be in like a mid range, so I can do like everything. Because like you could do like there's like photography, blood spatter. You know, I mean, you name it, like murder investigation, like everything, like arson investigation, like it's crazy. It's like a puzzle. And you know, I'm not gonna be a cop, so don't trip public. But
I took criminal justice for a little bit before I switched
yeah. It's good, And
people were asking
and if I don't get a job, I know what not to do, like and what not to leave behind. Thank you.
No question. I remember people asking me, and they're like, "Yo, why are you gonna be a cop? Like, what are you doing?" And I remember like being like, man, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah, I never wanted to be a cop.
The thing I liked most was the defensive tactics class.
Yeah.
You know, and going and learning like different holds and shit like that. And criminal law, I enjoyed.
Yeah, it's good to know your.
And
it's good to
criminal
know your
investigations.
rights. Like that's a good thing. It's good to know your rights. Like you know, especially like these days. Like
criminal investigations was similar to what you're talking about. You know, we would go and take a look and see like does this appear as if it's been moved? Do these leaves appear as if they've been ruffled?
Right.
All that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so.
I took a class on that. You know, it was like probable cause and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So for the record, man, this will be the fourth time you've been to Iowa. You've been to the first color codes, second color codes, the third color codes.
Yeah.
And then now we're doing Kung Fu Alley in the shadows of Ninja Bridge. In the shadows of Ninja Bridge.
Yeah, it was trippy. Like the first time I didn't really know what to expect, and I got out here.
Hey, tell us about that, man. Like you just talking to some cat from Iowa. You don't know what's up with the
yo, there's this like jam out here, and I'm like, all right, well, Des Moines. I'm like, how the hell am I gonna get to Des Moines? So like, I figured out I took the Amtrak, and then I was supposed to take a bus. I missed the bus because we were late, and then I got a ride up, and I was like, I don't even know what to expect. Like when I get up here, I'm like, what is going down? It was like, and then I got here, and it was like this jam, and it was like. There's like a DJ and there's like MCs and there's people breaking. And it was just like, I'm like, this is Des Moines. I'm like, dude, like, what is this? It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then I was like painting this like big old container thing. And I was like, oh, this is even trippy. And it was just like,
that's the first time you got to rock a joint of that
like
size
that
too.
big. Yeah, that was probably like the biggest one. I did this.
40 feet. That's 40 feet.
End-to-end box car.
That ain't 40 feet.
But not a whole car. But this one was like a shipping container. Like this one was like a full size shipping container.
40 feet.
Yeah. And then I was like, I'm just gonna smash it out. And then I was like, it was kind of like I was on the outside of the event.
Yeah.
And then, but I was like in the event. But it was just like I didn't have to like deal with like anybody like, oh, what's like there's people walking around. I was just like I was out there painting. And then I could like look in and be like, oh, okay, what's going on? But it was crazy. It was like a cool time. And then the second time I came out, like I got to paint like the other side.
Yeah.
And then it was cool. Yeah, that was like a trip. It was like I was like, I'm gonna do it again. Like it was cool. It's a trip out here. I like it.
So answer me two questions then. What in your mind when you look at this jam or these jams that you've experienced out here in Des Moines? If you compare them to other spots and, you know, you frequent all types of joints, Cali, other areas, how would you compare that in terms of like, dude, I have a good time there. That's a good spot I recommend. And what would you recommend maybe you would do to improve a thing?
I like it because like when color codes, like the ones that I was at where it was like, the first one was like, you're only rocking these colors. Like you can only rock these colors, like 2 colors, but you could rock like shades of them. And that was cool because it was like you're like putting like, you know, like a constriction on you and like what can you do like underneath, like what can you do with those restraints? And you have to excel at that. Like so it was like, oh, I have to rock like green and like purple. Like what can I do? Like you have to like put your mind to it and be like, okay, I'm gonna do it this way. So like that's cool because it makes you like stretch out. Like you have to, it makes you like do different things and put together like different color combos that maybe you like really want to work with. You're like one of them, I think I was like, how am I going to do like green and like beige or green and like
green
this?
And grays was
third. It was just like, it was just like, how are you going to do all that? And it was just like, I don't know, but
you figure it out.
Like you have to like work, like it makes you work a little bit more and like, it makes you expand from like your normal, like, color palette.
Yeah.
Whereas like you might be like, I only do blues and greens, or then it was like, whoa, no, you got to do yellow and purple. Like how are you gonna do that? Like I'm gonna do it this way.
Yeah.
So that works out.
There's a silver and blue joint out in Cali somewhere. I can't remember what.
Yeah, they do that.
That's kind of a classic.
That's
combo,
like a classic combo. I mean, I don't think
this is a little different
in terms of like changing anything. I don't think I would like change anything in terms of like color codes. I mean, like the cool thing is like it's a different parameter each time, so you're challenged each time. Like you get invited, or you're like, I'm gonna go out there because I know this time it's gonna be popping or whatever. But it's like it makes you challenge yourself to like come up with like something different. You're like, what is it going to be this time? Like, it's going to be like blue and
that's what's up.
Like,
that's good to hear, man.
Something.
It's good to hear. You know,
color
for a cat. Yeah, it's been rocking as long as you've been rocking. You know what I'm saying? Doing your thing.
It's cool. I mean, it's a cool spot out here. Like, I recommend. I mean, if any of you guys haven't out there, like been to Des Moines, like come through. It's like changing all the time. Everything gets better. It's kind of like
it's invite only, just for the record, though. Just clear.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if you're ever like, yo, I want to go check some stuff out, like, yo, come through and just check it out. Like, you don't have to come out here and paint.
No quest.
There's stuff out here, you know, like it's a chill little town. It's a chill town. It's like not a little town. It's a city. I don't know why the train doesn't come out here. Maybe if there are people out there that could start a petition to bring Amtrak to Des Moines.
I was going to ask you.
Then, you know.
This is your fourth year.
How about we
here.
make that happen?
This is the fourth year here. This is the fourth time, you know, we try to take care of travel and those sorts of things. You've never, ever, ever opted for a plane ticket. You've always opted for a train.
You can't bring spray paint on the plane.
Okay, this is why.
Yeah.
This is particularly because you're coming
exactly
heavy.
Why. And
okay.
I mean, I like to fly, but I like to fly when I have to.
I got you.
And if I don't have to, I'm really not in a hurry. You know, I plan it out ahead of time because I like to relax. Because I know when I get to like a jam, it's going to be like hectic and I got to be like on point and my brain's got to be like, we got to do this. Like, we got to paint. Like, we got to be like on point. And like, it's stressful. It's, you know, it's not, graffiti is not easy, everybody.
Yeah. For me, it's a workout.
It's it's physical, it's psychological, it's a workout, it's a release, it's a stress reliever, it's, a relaxation.
Meditation.
Meditation. It's Tai Chi. It's very Zen if you can get into that mind state. But it's also a crazy art form. And here we are all experiencing it.
And on that note, I think that'll carry us out, man. DERSK, man, it's glad to have you, man.
That's what's up.
Once again, we'll make sure to show some pics of the work, the finished product here and shit,
This is cool.
man.
I never did this before.
That's what's up, man.
Thank you for.
We always try to have you do it first out here. The shipping container, now you drop the crane.
Big up to producer Mike, holding it down on the sound. That's what's up. Don't spill anything else, dude. That's what's up. Big up to my crews, FUA, DCT, DE, TNR. That's what's up. Everybody out there. Big up to Fate. Big up to Des Moines. Big up to Color Codes. And that's what's cracking.
Peace, peace. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's WTFP, Worst Things First podcast.
Big up to Worst Things First.
We out.
Much love for rocking with this episode of WTFP. If you enjoyed what you heard today and want to hear more honest discourse with interesting people from ordinary walks of life, please like and share this clip. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every walk of life has a downside, and we begin the conversation there. This is Worst Things First, the podcast.